friend, Roger Christopherson, back again with another album battle. It's been a little bit since I've done one of these, and I just feel like it was time to do another one. Mainly because I saw the new box set for the Runaways came out this weekend, and even though I've never really gotten anything from the Runaways or listened, I don't own anything by the Runaways, I don't think. I've been a big fan of both Joan Jett and Lita Ford. Actually, I remember when Joan Jett first came out in the scene. It was 1982. I remember going through the mall and just seeing her face plastered all over the store. There's like 3 record stores in the mall, and every single one of them had her face plastered all over it. Didn't really know who she was. I was pretty young at that point in time, but I remember going to one of the local stores after that and getting the single for Crimson and Clover. Actually, not I Love Rock and Roll. It's kind of funny, but I did end up getting the album and thought it was pretty cool and really fell in love with that one. And then Lita Ford was a little bit later on. She didn't, that was in like 82 that came out, and actually Joan Jett had an album out before that. And like Lita didn't actually release anything after the Runaways until 83. And it wasn't until 88 that she really made it big. So the reason I chose the 2 albums that I did is because these are the 2 that really brought them both to fame outside of the Runaways. I was going to go with Up Your Alley because it was the same year as Lita Ford, but I don't know, that just didn't seem right, so I went with I Love Rock and Roll instead, and that's what we're sticking with. So anyway, that's why I chose the ones I chose. So anyway, like I said, I got Joan Jett way back. I didn't even know that was a cover song. I had no idea. I thought it was her own song. It wasn't until like years later that I realized that it wasn't even her own song. I didn't pay much attention to who wrote what on that first album or anything. Obviously, I knew that Crimson and Clover wasn't hers and Little Drummer Boy were not hers, but didn't realize how many other covers there were actually on this album. I Love Rock and Roll being the first one, and I've been in a couple bands that have played that song. It's fun. I've actually played Hate Myself for Loving You off Up Your Alley too, and that's a fun song to play, although she doesn't have a whole lot of sole writing credits on most anything she's done. She's got them, but there's not a whole lot. She does a lot of cover songs throughout her whole career. She's done cover songs on I think every album, but I may be wrong there. But and she has one whole album full of cover songs, and I actually really like the stuff she does. I've enjoyed her. She's still out there doing it. Lita's still out there doing it, so they're both kind of like, still active even to this day, even though Lita took a little bit of a break. They're still both out there. But anyway, back to the album. I'm Gonna Run Away is actually the first Joan Jett written song, co-written with Kenny Laguna on this one. It's a good song. These are all really short. I did notice that. This album's only like 30 minutes long. Yeah, they're all really short. Love is Pain was the sole written one by Joan Jett on here. Is out track number 3. And then Nag, which was one of the ones I did not know was a cover song until much later. I guess that's by a group called The Halos, which I still really don't know at all. But the other cover one on here is Bits and Pieces, which is a little bit later, which is an old Dave Clark 5 song. And then she actually covers a Runaway song on here, You're Too Possessive, which is another soul right by her, so it makes sense that she would do that. Then Crimson Clover's, of course, track number 5, which I love that song. I don't know what it is about that song, but ever since the first time I ever heard that song, which I believe was her version of it, I've loved it. I love the original version of it. I love the Prince version of it, which is completely different than anything, any cover song I've ever heard, but that's a cool version too. And then, of course, I had the album, so we flip it over. Victim of Circumstances was on that one. Listening back to this, I didn't realize how punk rock this album actually is. It's really short songs, fast, of course, a lot of bar chords, and very catchy. And then, of course, Bits and Pieces, which I already mentioned, was second track on side number 2. Be Straight was like probably the only song I don't really care for too much on here, which is funny because it actually got a co-write of Greg Kinn on this one too, but that's just kind of a song. It's really short, 2 minutes 41 seconds. And then You're Too Possessive, the Runaways cover. And then it's funny because the 2 longest songs are the Runaways cover, which is 3.5 minutes, and then Little Drummer Boy, which is 4 minutes long. And if you didn't know that was like a Christmas song, she kind of rocks it up. If you didn't recognize if you never heard that as a Christmas song before, you wouldn't even know like that her version of it is actually a Christmas song. So, and of course, there's been a bunch of remasters and reissues and stuff with a whole bunch of bonus stuff on here, but I'm not going to get into all that. That's just the main album. Now, the one thing I like really noticed listening back to this is I always knew this. It's got a very cool rock raw sound. Things sound out of tune at points in time and whatever, but it just somehow fits. And it's funny, a little side note here that the backup band here, the Blackhearts, are actually Roger Daltrey's band for one of the albums he did there in the late 90s, I think it was. And anyway, I saw that was pretty cool, and I remember them jamming with him, and it still sounded like the Blackhearts, which I thought was pretty cool. But so on to album number 2, and now this is a lot different than Joan Jett. It's funny how these two girls were in the same band together, started out and doing the same style of music, and are so different. This kicks, and of course it's a few years later, so production styles have changed, and Joan followed that too on her album Up Your Alley, which came out the same year, which is part of the reason I was thinking about choosing that one. But as I already said, I stuck with Lita, and this was her third solo album, and she didn't really make much of a big splash or anything with the first two, which were really good albums actually. But this is the one that did it for her, and they had the big hit "Kiss Me Deadly" on it, which I'm sure everybody knows. It was actually ranked, what was it, on the Billboard chart? It was, I think it ranked up to number 8, and it was like named the 76th best song of all time by VH1, something like that. I just kind of looked that up real quick here as I was listening to it, and thought that was pretty cool, even though it's one of the songs on the albums that she didn't write. She does a lot of co-writes too on here, but there's a couple that she had nothing to do with, and that just happens to be one of them, but it served her well, so I guess that doesn't matter. It's kind of funny, this is right about the time she hooked up with Sharon Osbourne helping her with as a manager, and that's how she came to know Ozzy, and she wrote the song "Close My Eyes Forever" for this album. But it kicks off. This was produced by Mike Chapman too, and he had a lot to do with the sound of this album. Obviously, he's producer, but he actually co-wrote the first song, "Back to the Cave," which is a kind of a cool, real groovy, rockin' song. And I always liked that song. It was pretty cool. But then the second song on the album is "Can't Catch Me," which is like a really fast rockin' song. Actually, probably my least favorite song on the album, but it actually has a co-write by Lemmy Kilmister on it. And he's kind of been known to work with a few different other artists. Ozzy, he actually wrote the lyrics for Hellraiser and maybe something else I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was good at the writing lyrics, and it's expanded a lot beyond Motorhead than people really know. But he actually did a rockabilly album here called the Headcats, I think it was called. It was the the drummer from Stray Cats and another guitar player. So I haven't checked that one out yet, but I've heard about it. Might have to check that one out sometime. But anyway, back to, I always get sidetracked on these little footnotes, but it's kind of funny. Third song on here, "Blueberry," which is actually a real cool song. It was written by Mike Chapman. It's solely written by him, but it's a really cool mid-tempo rockin' song. I actually really like that one. I've kind of forgotten about that one. Really good. And then, of course, track number 4 is "Kiss Me Deadly," which, listening back, is always fun. Every time I hear this song on the radio, I always listen to see if they added it out, and a lot of the times they don't, if anybody knows what I mean about that, but it's a funny song. Good song. I actually really like the song. I played that song in one band I played that song in, and it was actually really fun to play. And then ends with side one ends with "Falling Out of Love," which actually has a co-write by Nikki Sixx on it. So a lot of the stuff I had actually forgotten about, so it's kind of cool looking it all up again. And decent song, cool little mid-tempo rocker. And it's right about this point in time I was like noticing how great of a guitar player she really is. I had known that, but she doesn't really get the credit she deserves for playing guitar. I mean, she's playing all the guitar on this one as far as I know, and ripping it up, and man, shredding. She's actually a really, really talented guitar player, and I like her voice. I like she's got a little bit more inflections and range in her voice than Joan Jett does, which we're comparing the two, so that's one thing I noticed. I've always noticed that, but listening back, it's like, man, she has a lot more different styles of singing, inflections, range in her voice, and she's quite the guitar player, as I just mentioned. But anyway, side two, it's only got four songs on side two. It's a really short song list, but it's actually 10 minutes longer than Joan Jett's album too. But Fatal Passion, another good song, kind of a rockin' type thing. It was cool. And then Under the Gun, which was kind of a weird song, kind of cool. Great guitar playing in it, cool little groove. And Broken Dreams, another co-write with Ezrin. Dave Ezrin actually co-wrote a lot of the stuff in here. It's a keyboard player she had at the time. The fun thing I noticed about Under the Gun was it's only written by Ford, but it kicks in with a lot of keys, and I was like, that's weird that she's a guitar player and it kicks in with all these keys. But then it started rocking after that. But Broken Dreams, another cool little song. Strange little groove to that one, but and I liked it nonetheless. And then it ends with Close My Eyes Forever, which the production on that one actually sounded way different than the rest of the album. I don't know if they did that one separately or what, if that was recorded in a different studio or something, but listening to it all as a whole, the production on that one sounded a lot different than, a lot more crisp and clear than the rest of the album. The rest of the album did suffer a little bit from a little bit of a muddiness to it that the Joan Jett album doesn't have at all. I mean, that's like bright, crisp, in your face, raw rock. So I mean, that's what happens with the production style changes. It got a lot of processing gets added in. Sometimes you lose a little bit with that, and I think this album suffered a little bit from that, but that's just my personal opinion. But that's what this whole thing is about. It's just about personal opinion, personal choice, and what we like. And I can't decide which one of these. I know it's an album battle and we're supposed to choose which one we like. That's the whole point of this, but really the whole point is just talking about these albums and keeping the music alive as always. And just thought it was a really fun thing to do and try to do, and I probably wouldn't have picked these two if it hadn't been for the Runaways box set coming out. I don't know, maybe I'll check it out, maybe I'll listen to it after listening to these. Kind of makes me want to go back and hear what the earlier stuff sounded like. I know Joan Jett took over. She always sang lead, actually. I think Lita only sang lead on one song in all of the Runaways' career, and Joan Jett, co-lead vocaled for all of the Runaways. The what's her face, Cherry there. I can't even think of her name either. Like I said, I didn't follow the Runaways at all, but. Anyway, so getting down to it, I'm kind of avoiding the point of trying to pick an album. I don't know. I really don't know which one I would choose here. I mean, I don't know. This one's tough. I really think Lita has a lot better singing ability, and a lot better guitar playing ability. But I just like the original style of I Love Rock and Roll, and the feel and the sound of that album was kind of very unique, and it has a sound all of its own, whereas Lita has a general sound that every album around that time had. So, Joan Jett was first out of the gate. She came out rocking. I don't know. I guess maybe just because that little tiny thing there, I'd have to pick I Love Rock and Roll, but I don't know. Maybe tomorrow I'll pick Lita. I don't know. This one was tough. This one was really tough. Actually, I didn't think it was going to be this tough, but it was really tough. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. It was all for fun anyway. So if you guys, want to leave your opinions, as always, be respectful about it. I just ask because some people just can't help themselves, and whatever, you're just gonna last on there anyway. So I don't know why you bother. But like, share, subscribe. If you dislike, make sure you hit that dislike twice and let me know that you dislike it. And we'll talk to you guys in the next one. See ya.